Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Exotic Car Play Place. Today we're going to talk about one of the best tuner engines in the BMW family. Which one is that? Let's talk. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place. And today, so if you've been following my channel for a while, then you know that the engine that I'm really intrigued with is this one today, the N54, which is actually BMW's first attempt at a mass-produced turbocharged engine since way back when. So BMW decided to get in on this whole turbocharging game back. It debuted in 2006 at the Geneva Motor Show. And ever since then, it won countless awards for technology, performance, and what it brings to the table. So the N54 has won 5 consecutive Engine of the Year awards, also 10 top awards engines, of course, as well. And it has been the talk of the town by lots of tuners through and through for years, ever since that engine has come out. It's been loved by a lot of tuners. So what are the particulars on this engine? It's a 3-liter, all aluminum. It's aluminum block, aluminum heads, open deck design, of course. 4 valves per cylinder, and of course it produces 300 horsepower and as much pound-feet of torque. By factory, when this car came out, it was ridiculous because there was countless guys comparing this with the previous generation, the E46 M3, which was a little rocket ship in its day. And there was countless drag races that you can find all over the internet. And it was amazing because this new turbocharged 335 could beat on the E46 M3 all day long. Now, we all know M cars are special for everything that they bring. It's the balance and the brakes and the performance, the engine, everything. However, the N54 engine tucked away in the 335s was a real formidable power plant. And you know what? It brought a lot to the table, even in stock format, with 0 to 60 times of about 5 seconds, quarter mile times of 13.2, and a top speed of governed 155 miles per hour. Now, what's kind of unique about the N54? Well, it's turbocharged, of course we know that, but it's 2 turbochargers, not the one, now that they use a twin scroll single turbocharger in the N55 and the B58, but this one actually had twin turbochargers. And with that, gave a whole host of opportunities for performance enhancement. They utilized direct injection, but BMW called it high precision injection. Same business. It also used an air-to-air intercooler and piezo injectors. Now, on that injector thing, everybody knows now, unfortunately, after the fact, that those weren't the best injectors for this application. They were a problem right from the get-go. So if anybody's tuning these engines, that's something you probably want to look at. What is so special about the N54? Well, with a red line of 7,000 RPM and a relatively low boost pressure of 0.6 bar, means that its static compression is relatively high at 12 to 1, and then what that translates to is a very brisk performer with very little turbo lag and enough power to get up and get going. This car was very sprightly, to say the least. Because of their internals, their forged internals are what made this car especially attractive. But anyway, moving right along. So there's a lot of things that you can do. It's a sprightly performer as it is out of the box, and that's why it won many, many engine awards. However, if you are like me, and we like performance cars, then there are some things you could consider. And that is honestly why, if you've been watching the channel, you guys know that I've been shopping for some of these cars. The E90 335s, particularly. I'm considering the coupe, the sedan, not sure yet. All-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, not 100%. Still working on that. However, there's a lot of different things you can do to upgrade the performance, because I'm not satisfied with 300 horsepower. Although it's a very quick machine, now, I'm looking for the 5, 6, 7, 800 horsepower routes. But today we're going to share with you some of the options that you can look at if you want to upgrade an N54 engine and make it just a little bit more quick, a little more sprightly, a little bit more bang for your buck. So let's start at the bottom of the ladder with the simplest mods. So performance upgrades comes in many different stages. You could pick from tuners like Cobb and from Dynon, and the stage 1 is typically where you're going to want to start. If you want to just give it a little bump in power, you don't want to spend a lot of money, and you don't really want to put yourself out there. You don't want to create that Franken car, you just want to have something that's a little peppier and zingier. it's pretty cheap and dirty to do that. It's a reflash, it's a program basically. So by doing a reflash and then putting the cone intake air filters on, you could basically easily accomplish about 100 horsepower and about 130 pound-feet of torque upgrade. That makes the car very lively, very peppy, and of course, a great little street car for sure with that upgrade. Now, of course, another option that you can add to the Stage 1 tune, of course, is an optional front-mounted intercooler, which doesn't give you more power, but by adding the intercooler, you're protecting the charge air. So you're going to protect the engine from detonation. You're going to allow that engine to run harder, longer. So that's almost a guaranteed upgrade requirement. I wouldn't do any of these upgrades personally without an intercooler addition to that. But again, it's an upgrade. No extra power involved. It's some extra cash out of the pocket. But again, it's going to buy you some security. Then there's Stage 2, which is kind of typical. Again, Cobb or Dynan, you know, they all have their Stage 1 and 2, and a lot of times it's just a flash and some extra hardware. So Stage 2 is essentially the same thing as 1, which is they do a reflash or a tune, they do the intake cones, and now they're doing a catless or a cat bypass or downpipe off the exhaust. So you're reducing reducing the restriction in the exhaust system. That is going to get you about an extra, you know, above stock, about an extra 125 horsepower and about 140 pound-feet of torque, which again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but again, it goes a lot, you know, towards the better sound, snappier performance. As you reduce back pressure in the exhaust system, often you'll reduce turbo lag sometimes. You'll have a little better flow, of course. Turbos will move the air a lot better, and of course will spool a little bit quicker. Likely you're going to improve the spool up time, which doesn't translate to actual numbers, but it's the seat of the pants that you're looking for there. And then there's another one, the Stage 2, and you can also upgrade the intercooler as well. And again, always advisable to add an intercooler whenever you're adding boost to your engine, which is what you're doing by reflashing it. It's actually cranking up the boost in the engine. It's also something that you want to add is an intercooler because that's protecting your investment. If you keep adding boost, but you don't keep that charge air cool, you're going to have a catastrophic failure at some point if you push the car just too hard. And then there's a next level. We talk maybe around Stage 3, and that is a lot more hardware involved, of course. But the way I see this, don't keep upgrading your stages. Have set in your mind, where do you want that project to end up? Do you want that 600 horsepower fire-breathing monster? Or do you just want something with a little extra snap? You got to think about that because you might as well upgrade the hardware right off the bat so you don't keep replacing parts as you go. But to do the next stage, you're going to do a flash. You're going to do the intake cones, the front-mounted intercooler, the downpipes, of course, basically the cat bypass or catless downpipes. You're going to add a full exhaust, and you're going to upgrade the charge pipe as well with an integrated blow-off valve. So it does a better job of managing the overboost conditions and less likely a chance of breaking that charge pipe because now you're putting something that's a little bit more reinforced. So this car, in essence, is able to sustain higher levels of boost for a lot longer and provide you more power with numbers like 150 horse and about 160 pound-feet of torque extra above and beyond stock. So now you're at about 450 horsepower, which is plenty car. Remember the old Porsche 996 twin turbo? That car only came with 420 horsepower, and they were very, very quick. So now you're in the same ballpark with that. Now, having moved down the stage lineups, of course, I think we pretty much hit the maximum allowable output. You know, the maximum that those turbos, the stock turbos can flow would provide you 400, 450 horsepower. That's kind of their thermal limits, and they're done. They can't push much more air than that. So if you want to hit that 500, 600 flywheel horsepower, then you have to start looking at some other upgrades. And so then you start looking at maybe a JB, like a Burger JB4 tune piggyback, but you also have to upgrade the turbos that produce physically a lot more flow. So you're going to have to upgrade both turbos or convert to a single turbo. That's an option as well. So you want to upgrade that. You may upgrade the injectors as well for reliability as well as possible fueling. But the other key, of course, is methanol injection. So when you start adding all this extra boost and pushing a lot more air through the engine, another little trick that some of the tuners are using in these cars is methanol injection. So you're hitting a lot more boost, creating a lot more heat. You have to support the system. So you got the turbos, you got better fueling, but now you need methanol injection. It helps keeping the intake charge cooler as well. You probably want to put an oil cooler in there as well, methanol injection, larger turbos, exhaust. You've done the intake cones, the flash on a piggyback from JB4 or thereabouts. There's a lot of things you've done. You spent a lot of money. So you have to ask yourself, is that kind of where I want to wind up? Or am I satisfied with 400 horsepower? Or do I need that 550 horsepower? So those are the things. Don't forget too, now you've upgraded the performance, but as you add more power, things start to break. Axles, you want to make sure you have brakes that can slow the car down. You want to make sure everything else can tolerate that. So everything else has to be built around that. And again, if you don't, you're going to start breaking parts. And that's where tuning gets very expensive, is not just adding the power, it's to support the chassis, support you and safety. And so that's the things that you have to consider when you're tuning these engines. But as a result, they're often compared to the old Toyota Supra twin turbo engine, from way back in the 90s, just because of its tunability, its forged internals, and its overall performance potential. So this is a great engine for upgrades, for performance, and that's why I'm seeking to buy possibly a 335 with the wonderful N54, because it is so tunable. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Now let's have a swig of the Kool-Aid. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed that video, guys. I really just wanted to share that with you. This is sort of the beginning of a bit of a series. We're going to address some of the key engines in the BMW lineups. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking about specific engines and, some of the goods and bads. But really, we're going to talk about what that engine means to BMW. Like the N54, like we just spoke of today, what that means is a new generation, turbocharging, horsepower, tuning. That's sort of a new concept for BMW as such. Up until then, it was more of, you drive the car as stock. A lot of tuners now like these N54s, and so that's what we talk about. The next engine we discuss will probably have a different idea, different concept. Depending on what that engine brings to the table, we will address that. So I hope everybody liked the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, and of course, share with your friends. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and that little notifications bell lets you know when the next great video is out. And I'd love to see you guys on the next one. So please come out again. Thanks for joining Exotic Car Play Place. See you guys later. Bye-bye.